Hello, hello, hello. All right, so I have a new slot today. I'm usually on at 2:30 p.m. British summer time on a Monday, and I've had to swap it to 5:30. So I have no idea whether that message has got out and how many people are going to show up. So I'm just going to go with it and see what happens, and fingers crossed. So whilst we wait, it usually takes people a little bit of time to show up. I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous that the word might not have got out. But whilst we wait, I usually get people to say hi and tell me where they're from, but there's only a couple of you on here so far. So may as well tell me where you're from and who you are. So Sumit, I can see you there. So hello, Sumit. Do you want to tell me where you're coming in from, Sumit? And if there's, I think there's at least one other person there. So would you like to say hello and tell me where you're from? That would be cool. We have some more people that have joined us now, so that's awesome. If you've just joined, please do say hello. I'd love to know who you are, what your name is, where you're coming from, because then if you come back, I tend to remember you. So Sumit, you're coming from Chicago. Very good. Sayo is back. Hey, Sayo. Sayo is joining us from Dublin, isn't it? It's Dublin, Sayo. So welcome, welcome. Is it raining in Dublin this afternoon? My mother-in-law was sending me messages about there being terrible weather where she is, and she's in, is it the West? I think she's in West Dublin. She was saying it was terrible weather, Sayo. So I've had lovely weather here today. Ahmed, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you got the news about the new time. Tell me where you've come from today, Ahmed. That would be awesome. We have Nudge Edits. I always find it really hard to get my mouth around those two words together. I don't know why. Oh, it's Abhishek. Great. I'm going to use Abhishek for you, Nudge Edits, because that's so much easier for me to get my mouth around. I don't know. Rahul. Hello, Rahul. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for joining. Where are you coming from, Rahul? Would love to know. We've got bitten from New Jersey. Very nice. Sayo, it is raining. Yeah. Let's be honest, Sayo, it's always raining in Ireland. I lived there for 4 years and I would have to leave home every day wearing like a vest top, a t-shirt, a jumper, have a jacket and have an umbrella because you could guarantee to experience pretty much every season of the year in just one day. At least that was my experience. Okay. Oh, Ahmed, you're coming from Egypt. You're only 1 hour ahead of me in Egypt, I think. So it's probably like 6:30 in the evening/afternoon there. I'm learning all the different time zones as well, which is quite good. This whole experience has helped me get my head around all the different time zones in the world. Okay, so, Rahul, you're in Montreal. Awesome. I've always wanted to go to Montreal. I wonder if I'll ever get there. There's so many places I'd love to go to. Egypt is another one that I'm desperate to go to. I'm a classicist by education, so ancient civilizations are high up my love list, and Egypt is definitely on my list. All right. Oh, we have Amanda from London. We're all Londoners here. I'm a proper Londoner, born within the sound of Bow Bells. I know you can't tell from my accent, but it's true. And Jassir's back. Hello, Jassir. Right. Do you know what? I'm going to get going. As I say, I've changed the slot. So quite how many people would have got the news of that? Who knows? So it looks like it's a small group today, but hey, whatever. Hopefully the word will get out and the group will grow in size. So, but I got 50-50 of you have been here before. So I'm really sorry. I'm going to go through my spiel. I'm sorry if you've heard it before. I will try and go through it relatively clipped pace for those people who have not been here before. So I'm Gigi. I am the Amazon interview whiz. I was a senior leader at Amazon for a number of years where I did what everybody else does when they're at Amazon, and that's lots of interviewing. But most specifically, I was a bar raiser. So the difference between a bar raiser and everybody else that does interviewing at Amazon is a normal interviewer will kind of interview around their own skill set. So if you're a accountant, you'll be interviewing the kind of finance people. If you're a vendor manager, you'll generally be interviewing vendor managers. If you're a solutions design engineer, same goes. You'll also be probably only interviewing in your locale. You might do one or two for a different locale, but generally it'll be within your own kind of country base. A bar raiser can interview anywhere across the organization. So you could interview tech and non-tech. I did both tech and non-tech, although predominantly non-tech. I interviewed across all sorts of different job families, finance, vendor managers, I can't remember the word now. Vendor managers, marketers, obviously, because I was in marketing, finance teams, legal counsel, communications, loss prevention. That was the word I was looking for. So I got exposure across all sorts of different job families. I also got exposure across lots of different countries, of course, because Amazon is global. So as a bar raiser, you get a very, very broad perspective of the interview experience for candidates across job families and across countries, which is a unique position to be in. Only about 5% of Amazonians become bar raisers. So in my time at Amazon, I hired hundreds of Amazonians. Since leaving Amazon, I built my own Amazon interview ecosystem. I've been trying to find a word for it. I've decided I'm going to call it ecosystem. So my mission is to make Amazon interview expertise like mine accessible to everybody. If you've ever looked for Amazon one-to-one coaching, you'll find out it's not cheap, about $200-ish if we're going to use US dollars as our currency. Not everyone can afford that, particularly because it takes so much preparation to get ready for an Amazon interview that if you're talking about that an hour, it can easily stack up. So I created my YouTube channel, which is 2.5 odd hours, maybe more, of completely free, very specific, very actionable, no repeating, no babbling content for you guys, folks. I'm still trying to work on that. I post daily, twice daily on LinkedIn with tips. And I have my own Interview Wiz Academy, which is my paid set of courses, which is an incredibly affordable way of getting 10 hours worth of coaching from me that would be the equivalent cost of 1 hour with a personal one-to-one coach. So this is my session today where I do free Q&A. You ask me pretty much any question you like, and I will answer it for you. Just a caveat or two, I'm not going to be answering very, very specific technical questions. So some questions that people will ask me are very specific to the particular job role that they're interviewing for. Now, there are over 300 different job families in Amazon, and no one person can know that level of detail about every single one of them. So possible I can't answer those questions. I am an expert in the leadership principles. I am absolutely an expert in interview strategy. I'm absolutely an expert in the process. So I'll be able to cover off all of those things for you. Please don't just ask me for general tips. If you want those, you can go to my YouTube channel, 2.5 hours worth of it. So please just ask your questions in the box there. I will go through the box and I will pick the ones that I think are going to be most useful for everybody and pop them up on the screen and answer them. If you don't want your question popped up on the screen, please don't ask it. I did have somebody last week who asked a question, I answered it, and then they asked me not to put it in the content live, which isn't possible because I don't break everything down in my lives and edit them to perfection. So if you don't want your question to appear to the world, please just don't ask it. Okay, please do stay until the end because I have an awesome freebie to give you that I promise you will absolutely love. Right, let's get going. Let's see what questions we have. Okay, so Sumit, I'm going to answer this quite quickly for you. So doing a presentation for your on-site is pretty unique. There will not be very many job families that ask people to do presentations. And therefore, because I don't know the job family, and even if I did, I don't think I would know that level of specificity, you should check with your recruiter how long the presentation is that they are expecting. So I can't answer that one for you because there's just so many different potential teams that could be for, and I wouldn't even know the actual length of time per team. So please do just ask your recruiter. There should be no reason why they won't give you that information. Okay, moving on then. Oh, Abhishek, you got the role. Yay! Congratulations. The crowd goes mad. You've been here so much. I've seen you so many times at all of my live sessions, and you've been asking loads and loads of questions. So hopefully my answers were able to help you. Hopefully my channel helped you. Congratulations. Amazing achievement. I think you're the fourth one today that I've got feedback from my broader ecosystem that they've got jobs. So that's cool. I've had a good day today. So congratulations. Very excited for you. Okay, moving on. Oh yeah, so I got new specs as well. Specs, these are spectacles. It's maybe a very English term. How are we feeling about these? They're quite big. Again, a birthday present from my husband, but I quite like them. Just a minor interlude for you. Okay, what other questions do we have? Oh, Uma, okay. You're waiting for your results. Oh, fingers crossed for you, Uma. Okay, Jasir. Can a recruiter withdraw an application because you couldn't find a suitable time slot for the loop? I've never heard of that happening. I've never heard of it getting to a point where you just could not find a right schedule or slot and therefore a candidate was withdrawn. I can't see Amazon ever wanting to do that. Obviously, I've heard of candidates deciding to withdraw because it's taken so long to find a slot that they've been offered roles elsewhere, or the job gets closed because another candidate has managed to get a bar-raising inclined decision because they were able to find the right slot. So for those reasons, I have heard candidates unable to proceed with application because they couldn't find a slot, but not specifically because they couldn't find a slot. I hope that makes sense. Correlating, not causal, I suppose. Okay. Grace. Oh, hey, Grace. You've joined us from LinkedIn. That's awesome. Welcome, Grace. I just love that name. It's such a beautiful name. Okay. So, we've got someone from Manchester that's joined us. I'm going to go for Chaitali. I apologize if I have butchered your name there, but someone from Manchester. We've got Somesh again. Hey, Somesh, welcome back. Lovely to see you. Mudassar Trainer, you're back as well. Oh, I feel like my friends are all showing up to my house for a party. This is awesome. I hope you've all brought your own bottles because I have no alcohol here at all. It's not true. I've got loads of gin, but don't tell my husband. Okay. Okay. All right. Here we go, Grace. So many sites suggesting Amazon interview questions. What's a good site to focus on? You've seen a site that has 5 questions per LP from the question bank, which it seems excessive to prepare for. Right. So I'm going to break this into 2 parts, Grace. First of all, go to my website, amazoninterviewwiz.com. Not the website I'm going to give you at the end, which is my paid for courses. I have my own purely marketing informational website. Go to amazoninterviewwiz.com and you will find an article in my interview guides there that you will find useful. I sourced Amazon interview questions from the web myself. I went out and looked at lots of different websites because, like you say, there are so many out there. And because I know the leadership principles so well, I was able to filter out all of the ones that are utter tosh and keep the ones that were questions that I felt aligned very well to the leadership principles. So you can go to my website, amazoninterviewwiz.com, and you will find an article there. Now, you will find an article there that tells you what the questions are, but provides very clear advice on how to use those questions. Because as you rightly say, Grace, you cannot prepare answers for every single question. There are 148 different questions that exist in the Amazon interview question bank. There's no way you can come up with answers for all of those. Even if you could, there's no way you'd ever remember them. And on top of that, Amazon interviewers can make up their own questions. They don't have to use the ones on the Amazon interview question bank. So it actually makes 0 sense to build your preparation around a model of finding these questions and building answers for them. Where these questions are useful is in practicing reshaping your pre-planned starry example to fit that question. So my coaching says, find examples from your career history that matches and aligns to the leadership principles. If you are one of my candidates in my academy, I have a concept which is called facets, which is basically the different elements of each leadership principle. You'll find out if you use my giveaway later, the customer obsession one has 4, others have 3, others have 2. But if you choose to sign up to the academy and learn what those facets are, you can pick examples from your career history that align to those facets. If you choose not to do that, you can still make a good go of it yourself by just reading the description of the leadership principle. Bring in those examples. Build your star structure, and then take these plethora of questions that you find on the web and practice reshaping your example to fit that question. So perhaps you're asked a question about a time where you had a great idea for something, but you had to convince your colleagues to go along with you. Well, that's a bit of a strange combination of invent and simplify and earn trust. But maybe you've got an example where you had a great idea, but you didn't really have to convince anybody to go along with you. Well, you might want to practice finding a way of reshaping your example where you've had a good idea, and think about the individuals that you had to work with, and maybe kind of shape the narrative to highlight the conversations you had to have with those individuals to get them to go along with it. So you cannot, as I say, prepare for every single question. You should, in my view, come up with some strong examples for each individual leadership. If you're one of my candidates, align them to the facets. Then practice these questions that you can find on my website, amazoninterviewwiz.com, and reshape your examples to fit those questions. Practice it on paper, practice it with a friend, practice it watching yourself in the, recording yourself on video. But that's really the only useful way to use all of these questions, is to build the skill of, in the moment, reshaping a predetermined example that you created beforehand. Otherwise, you'll just go bonkers, trust me. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Please do head over to the website. You will find in the interview guides one of my guides about the Amazon interview question bank. You'll find it all there. Steve Hodgson is back. Hey, Steve. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Oh, Victor. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, someone pipped you at the post. Okay, but they're looking for an alternative one for you to apply for. So that's good, Victor. That does sometimes turn into something. One of my candidates on the Amazon Interview Wiz Academy had exactly the same thing happen to them. They got pipped at the post. They did find another role to apply for, and I think they only looped for it yesterday or the day before. So I am anxiously anticipating hearing back from him. Okay, oh, that just took a big jump. Let me just go back to it. Okay, some half questions here. So I'm just going to jump that in the hope that the rest of the question appears a little bit later. Right. Mudassar trainer, yes. So you wanted something on SDM, and the video that I have on my YouTube channel is SDE. Yes, it is. I'm actually meeting Vivek again tomorrow, and we're going to start planning an SDM video. So I'm hoping I can have you something in the next week or 2. I hope that's not too late, but very specifically about SDMs. Okay. Oh, Steve, I'm glad you like my specs. I'm delighted with them. I love a big pair of specs. It's a new recent thing for me. Okay, what else do we have? Yeah, Amanda, you will definitely have a break, because yes, it's a very, very long time. So your loop is booked from 10 until 3. You will have a break. I don't know if you've Have you had your schedule come through yet? Because it should show in your schedule. You should see who you're meeting and at what time, and you should see a break in there. If there isn't a break in there, do go back to your recruiter and ask if it's possible to put one in, because as you say, that is a very long run to go without a break. So I would expect a break to have been built in, but if it's not there, go back to your recruiter and ask. It's a perfectly reasonable request. Okay, yeah, I'll do this one for you, Amanda. So on average, how many candidates do they send to Loop at once? That concept doesn't exist in Amazon. So go and check out my YouTube channel. There is a video that's called What You Need to Know About Your Competition. I will summarize what it says for you right now. Most other organizations do a process whereby they open up applications for a role. There is a close date and all the applications come in and nobody looks at them until the close date. The close dates happen. They then start sifting through all of the resumes. They compare the resumes. They get rid of the ones they don't want. They keep the ones they do want. They then invite all of those people to a round one. They interview all of those people at round one. They compare them all. They discard the people they don't want and they move the rest on to round two, and so on and so forth, until a process of elimination where they eventually get to the person they want to hire. Amazon doesn't work on a basis of a process of elimination. It is a conveyor belt. It's called first past the post as a process, whereby it is a constant conveyor belt of resumes coming in, people doing round one, people doing round two, people doing loop. So in Amazon, it's very possible for someone to be at loop, someone to be at round two, someone to be at round one, and someone to be having their resume reviewed at exactly the same time. And effectively, the job stays open until someone gets past the post being considered bar raising and being given an offer at the end of loop. So some roles, in theory, it's possible for only one person to have ever been considered for a role. If their resume came in and they were the only person, they went all the way through to loop and got a higher offer. It's never happened, ever, but it is possible. Equally, it's possible for them to go through 60, 70 candidates end to end and finally make a hire. So there is no average because it's this constant conveyor belt of people coming through. I hope that helps. Do check out the video for a little bit more detail, but it basically says what I've just said there. Okay. Byte bitten. I hope you enjoyed the content. Oh, there we go. Right. I was kind of wondering where this story was going, Byte bitten. Good to know. So you got a role. Yeah. So that's number 5 today. Woohoo! Very exciting. Congratulations. I am delighted to have been able to help you and be part of your journey. Congratulations. Work hard, play hard. No, work hard, have fun, and make history, as they say. Okie dokie. It's turning out to be a good day, isn't it? Yeah, just there. Okay, yeah, sure. Is it possible to do the loop without turning on your camera? Of course it's possible. Amazon needs to and does accommodate people. It's usually better to see somebody's face. You can see their body language, they can see yours, etc., etc. But for some candidates, that's not appropriate. Obviously, there are maybe visually impaired candidates, or maybe there's somebody who is in an environment where they don't want people seeing what's going on behind them. Maybe they've got a partner or a flatmate working behind them, or children, whatever it might be. So it's absolutely within your right to speak to your recruiter and ask your recruiter if you can go audio only. I would suggest that if you're going audio only, that the interviewers also go audio only. It's super weird for one person to see the other person and the other person not to see the other person. So I reckon all in or all out, but talk to your recruiter. And if they say it's okay, then I would also then be asking them to just say to the interviewers that, you know, if you're going audio only, perhaps they might like to also go audio only. But I guess have a good reason. If your reason is that you want to have loads of notes in front of you and not have them see that you have loads of notes, maybe that might be a reason. Just be a little bit cautious there, because it is actually quite often easy to hear somebody turning pages. I would say caught a few people out because that's disingenuous. They weren't cheating in that regard, but you can hear it. So if that's your reason, just be smart about the reason that you give your recruiter for wanting to go audio only. Make it sound credible. And then if you are using notes, be very quiet when you turn the pages. Okay, moving on then. I hope that was helpful. Hey, Alptekin. Hello. Und is that Swedish? I'd love to know where that surname is from. Yeah, Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, something like that. Maybe I'm horribly wrong and I've just embarrassed myself completely. We'll see. Tell me. I'd love to know. Okay. So if you've got no work experience, can I give you some advice on customer obsession LP? Okay. So a customer is anybody that consumes your output. So they don't have to be the end user. So for a lot of internal business teams, they don't work with the end user, they only work with internal teams. Well, in that case, their customer is the internal team. If you're very junior in your career, but you've got some career history, then think about examples where you have produced something for somebody. So maybe someone asked you to create a report. Okay, well, the person that asked you to create the report for them is your customer. If you're having to go back to maybe college, university, something like that, maybe you're using an example from some kind of a club or a society that you were part of or running. The people who are part of your club, who are members of your society, they're your customers. They're the end user of kind of whatever output the society or the club is creating. So you just need to think a little bit more creatively about the term customer. Customer is anybody for whom you are delivering something that they will then consume. Hope that helps. Moving on. Hi, okay. So does the leadership principle answer need to be stories that always include technical examples if the interview is for a tech role? Okay, so it is always preferable, I suggest, to try and make your examples align as much as possible to the skills and requirements of the role that you're interviewing for. And that's as true of tech roles as it is for non-tech roles, because it really will help your interviewers bridge your examples to the type of work that you'll be doing at Amazon. And it will also give them reassurance that you have the skills and experience for the role that they're looking for. So if you are applying for a technical role, using examples where you were working on a technical project would be, and a technical project that aligns to the role that you're applying for, obviously, that's obviously going to be preferable. However, sometimes that just doesn't make sense. You might not have an example for a specific leadership principle that is related to a technical project, or indeed you might have an awesome example for a leadership principle that you really want to use that isn't aligned to a technical project. In either of those cases, it is okay to use an example that doesn't align to the skills and requirements of the role that you're applying for, because really what you're doing is focusing on the leadership principles. And if you can raise the bar on the leadership principles, that's really the goal of the interview process. But if you did that for all of your examples, I think you're likely to get to a position where the hiring manager and the team are going to be wondering whether you actually have the technical skills to do the role. Now, sometimes people are making job pivots and therefore they can't do that, but then that's a known quantity to the hiring manager and the interviewers because they've already seen their resume and decided to interview them anyway. So with that as an edge case, I would say wherever you can, do align your examples to the skills and requirements of the role that you're interviewing for. If you've got one or two that you can't, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. Okay, moving on then. Thank you for these questions, by the way, everyone. They are cool questions today. Oh, Avinash. Oh, Avinash. Okay. So it's not going to be an issue that your interview was rescheduled. Sorry, I'm going to read this out because sometimes people listen to this rather than watch it. So you've got a phone interview scheduled with the hiring manager. It was originally scheduled for last Thursday, but you were very nervous and you asked the recruiter to reschedule. Is that bad? So is it bad that it got rescheduled once? Absolutely not. Would it be bad if it got rescheduled again a second time? Not the end of the world. Would it be bad if you wanted to reschedule a third time? Avoid that. So you've got one, that's fine. No one's going to think twice about it. As far as nerves are concerned, please go check out the video on my YouTube channel where I talk about how to avoid nerves driving failure in your Amazon interview. I've got a good few suggestions there for you, which I'm sure will be helpful. I'm a high kind of anxiety person. I get very nervous when it comes to interviews. I have what's called an essential tremor. So when I get adrenaline going through my body, my hands shake, and drinking water is like dangerous. I'm going to throw it over myself. So I've got a lot of experience of being nervous myself and a lot of experience of dealing with candidates who are nervous. So please do check out the video. I really think it will help you. But don't worry that anyone's going to hold it against you that you rescheduled from the last time. They won't. Ha! Samesh. Gosh. So this is a question I could easily skip, but I decided not to. So, how was work-life balance for me when I was working with Amazon? So, my experience with Amazon was quite two-sided, actually. I worked in one team, which was Amazon Prime Video Europe. I was the head of marketing operations. So, pretty much everything that a customer saw or touched from a marketing point of view went through my team. So I owned the storefront, for example. So every minute of every day, my stuff was going in front of customers across 8 different countries. Emails, letters, PPC, partners, all these different things. I was responsible for a very, very coal face part of the organization across many different countries. When I was in that role, my work-life balance was non-existent, right? 24/7, I had to be available to deal with crisis. If something went wrong with the storefront at 3 o'clock in the morning, a SEV2, which is a severity 2 alert, would come to me personally, and I would try and have to find a way of fixing it, working with the engineering teams. That was the nature of that role. I knew that when I was going into it. When I finished that role, and I went to work for Amazon Fresh, launching Amazon Fresh stores. I hope you've all been to the Just Walk Out stores in the various countries. We're definitely open in the UK. They're definitely open in the US. I'm not sure whether they've made it much further than that, but if you haven't, they are awesome. They're awesome. Go. So when I was working in that team, it was a nascent team. I was building out the brand. We hadn't launched yet. I was creating new processes, new mechanisms. And therefore, I could sit down at my desk at 9 o'clock in the morning and I could leave at 5:30 in the afternoon and it would be fine because I was creating something new that didn't exist. I didn't have anything live. So I had a very comfortable work-life balance there. So my point is, different people are going to have different experiences. It's very, very dependent on the nature of the business unit that you're working in, its nascency, the type of work done in that business unit, the type of role you have in that business unit. And of course, it's also going to be dependent on your management and your leadership. So some people at some points, like me, had zero work-life balance, but I chose that. Other times you can have a fantastic work-life balance. So it's going to be very, very varied and it will go in cycles. You know, I did have times at Prime Video where it was all very neat and quiet and tired because nothing went wrong. We didn't have a major collection of launches all happening at the same time. And I did manage to go home at 6 o'clock at night or whatever it was. Other times I was working at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was very variable. So I hope that answers that question-ish. Let's move on. It's Turkish. Yes, of course it is. Foolish me. Foolish me. Okay. Okay, Shihan, let's go to your question here. So, can I guide you on how they select candidates? Is it little low on technical and good on behavior? It's both. It's both, really. So you have to be able to show the hiring team, particularly the hiring manager, that you have the skills and capability to do the job. You have to raise the bar on the key leadership principles for the role. If you don't raise the bar on the key leaderships for the role, you're not going to get hired. Now, in reality, you can teach skills. Broadly speaking, you can teach skills. Now, there are some skills that your hiring manager can't afford to wait for you to learn. There are other skills that they might be able to afford to wait for you to learn. There's no fixed formula that says leadership principles are more important than technical. If you don't raise the bar on the leadership principles, you're not getting in. So you are definitely going to have to be able to prove that you're raising the bar on the leadership principles. You are going to have to convince your hiring manager and the team that you have the skills and capability they need for the role, or that you have the skills and capability to learn the skills for the role. But it'll be up to them really in the moment to decide whether they can teach you those skills, or whether actually those are such fundamental skills that without them, it doesn't matter if you raise the bar, they can't bring you into the role. There's just no simple black and white answer to that question, I'm afraid. So goal's got to be to raise the bar on the leadership principles and be able to show that you have the technical skills and experience to do the role. Okay. Jasir, I've never had this question before. Never had this question. It has a simple answer, which is no. So the question is, can you have a say in who can be on your loop? Can you request for your referee who works in Amazon to interview as well? Not only no, can you not request a particular individual for your interview, but you most certainly could not, even if you could, most certainly no organization would want you to be able to have your referee who works in the organization, because they are fundamentally biased. They could be a referee who isn't actually in the proper referral program, where you're part of their network, they don't really know you, and they've just passed your resume on. If it's the actual referral program, then they'll make money if you get hired. And there's no way you would make someone responsible for a hiring decision who's going to make money if you get hired. So either way, no is the answer. Now, the hiring manager can request particular people to be on the interview panel if they think that person's a particular strong interviewer or very relevant for the role. But even they would not be allowed to have your referrer on the panel, because they are completely biased for the outcome. Okay. Never had that question before, though. That was an interesting one. Okay, moving on then. Oh, yes, Mudas trainer. That is a good point. So can you please, at this point, like my stream, please? It makes a massive difference to the algorithm. Thank you, Mudassar trainer, for reminding me. I said this last time and I forgot to say it this time. It makes a massive difference to the algorithm if you like my content. I put a lot of effort into these. I give a lot of time up for this. And in return, I would very much like you to please like the stream. So I'm going to pause for 10 seconds, maybe. I'm going to count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. I hope we don't lose too many people in this process. But please, please do like the stream. So if you haven't done it yet, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go like it. I hope you're liking. Please like. There we go. Okay. Thank you. I hope you did thumbs me up and like my stream. I don't think I lost too many people in that process. It makes a big difference to my content. So I'd be very, very grateful if you do. I do this for you. Please do that for me. Okay. Moving on then. What else do we have? Okay. Quick one here. Mohammed, welcome, Mohammed Elbaz. Excellent. So is it normal to have the hiring manager in the final panel again? Yes, absolutely, it is absolutely normal. It would be very abnormal not to have the hiring manager in your final loop. Ultimately, the people who have to make the decision to hire you are the hiring manager and the bar raiser. Everybody else's data matters. Everybody else's data is relevant and considered. But ultimately, the two individuals who really are responsible for making that decision are the hiring manager and the bar raiser. So you're going to want the hiring manager there because they're going to want to hear everything everybody else has to say about you to be able to read it and then ultimately be the person who is accountable for making that final hire decision. Now, obviously, many of you will know the bar raiser is the person that ultimately gets the final say. If they're not aligned with the hiring manager, they can veto, but it really is those two people that really, really matter in the process. I do have a video about that, surprise, surprise, on my YouTube channel. I think it's something along the lines of who matters most in the interview experience, something like that. So go check out that video. It goes into a little bit more detail. Hello. So Survey, I'm going to go for Survey. I hope that's not wrong. You have signed up for my masterclasses. Yay! Thank you very much. I hope you find them useful. I spent I'd say 750 hours building my masterclasses. I learned animation, I learned audio. A lot went into that. So I hope you enjoy them. Everybody will get a free masterclass at the end of this session. So hang around and then all will be revealed as to why I invested 700 hours, 750, because I did the 2 new leadership principles in my courses. I hope you find them useful, Survey. Survey. Okay. Okay. Interview technique. Here's a good one. So a friend of yours interviewed, had a last-minute replacement, which is always tough as an interviewer, being a last-minute replacement, and they were disengaged. How should you deal with that one? Put in as much energy as you can. It's really, really easy, and I'm sure you'll all know this, is to be taken along with the energy levels of the individual on the other side of the screen or the table in the wonderful old-fashioned days where we got to physically be together. So you kind of have to blot that out and ignore the fact that they seem disengaged. Spend no time thinking about why are they disengaged, are they bored, whatever it is, forget about it. Put in as much energy as you possibly can in the interview. I would also do tricks like kind of stroking, I call it stroking the pussycat. I think someone mentioned that to me many, many years ago, about 15 years ago, someone used that phrase for me, stroking the pussycat. So stroking the pussycat is basically stroking somebody's ego, trying to make them feel good about themselves. So if they ask you a question, you can say something along the lines of, great question. It's a bit passe, but nonetheless, a little bit of stroke of the pussycat. Oh, great question. Or, okay, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Or, oh, that's a really interesting way of phrasing that question. Just a little bit to try and draw them in. You want them to feel like you like them and you're interested in them. Even if they're not interested in you, try and make them feel like you're interested in them. Those would be my 2 suggestions. Keep the energy up and try and stroke the pussycat in the right direction. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Moving on then. I can see lots of people saying done, done, done on the liking. So that is awesome. I am very grateful for that. Samesh, you double like if you could. That's so sweet. Well, you can always go through my entire YouTube catalog and go like all of those. That would be awesome. If you've got a spare few minutes, I'd love that. Okay. What else do we know? Okay. This is a question that comes up all the time, so I will answer it quickly. You can also go through my old lives. It will also be there if you want a little bit more detail than I'll give you now. Who is the bar raiser in the loop? So it doesn't, yes, you can find out how, and I will tell you briefly how. Sometimes you can find out how. But first, I'm going to caution you to not overthink about it, because from your point of view, your interview with the bar raiser should be exactly the same as your interview with every other interviewer. They don't get any special leadership principles assigned to them. There are no special questions that are reserved only for bar raisers, and there are no special things that they're looking for in your answer that every single other interviewer isn't looking for. So from your perspective, it really shouldn't be something you think about too much. Every single piece of data that anybody gathers in the interview process, your bar raiser is going to see and is going to process. If anybody on your loop is going to be open-minded about reconsidering their own perspective on you as a candidate, it's going to be the bar raiser, because they're just so darn experienced at interviewing. They know how open-minded they need to be. So for that reason, I don't think you guys, folks, should worry about who the bar raiser is, right? It's an unnecessary anxiety that lots of coaches, interview coaches, play on and try and sell you something and tell you that they can give you all the secret sources for being successful in the bar raiser round. They can't. Don't fall for it. So, but if you really, really feel you have to know who the bar raiser is, they are very likely to not come from the business area that you are interviewing for. So if you see on your panel and the job descriptions of all of those people on your panel, and they're all in and around your job area, let's say you're applying for recruiting, everyone else has got an HR or recruiting job title, and suddenly there's a random software development engineer, or there is a random vendor manager, or there is a random finance manager, chances are that person is your bar raiser. The bar raiser is meant to be a completely independent party in the process. So they pick someone who's not at all from the team, because then they don't have any skin in the game, no reason to be desperate to hire you. They don't need to put a bum on the seat. They're not carrying the load of the work until that role is filled. They're an independent third party, and therefore they pick them from a completely different area. That said, sometimes it's not that easy to tell, because there are some jobs that have very generic job titles. And even though they may be from teams like 6 steps away from the team that you're applying for, it may still actually have a very similar job title. So, for example, product manager, Prime Video, let's say. Now, Prime Video is absolutely massive. There's sports, there's Amazon, there's Prime Amazon channels, there's the normal streaming service. There are people who are product managers on the devices side of things. There are people who are product managers on the algorithm side of things. They could be very, very different teams, many, many steps apart, but they could still have a job title of product manager, Prime Video, and you would never know that they were the bar raiser. So in some instance, it's blatantly obvious. I stuck out like a sore thumb as a senior manager in marketing when I was bar raising on procurement roles or finance roles or solutions architect roles. But I didn't stick out for a sore thumb when I was bar raising on marketing roles for a prime marketing team in Turkey, for example. No one would have guessed that I was the bar raiser. So if you can see them, great, you'll be able to spot them. If you can't spot them, that's because you're never going to be able to spot them. There's no way you'll be able to tell if their job titles are very similar. The broader point is, please don't worry about it. Just do your best at every single interview. That is the best way of focusing your energy. Don't put energy into trying to work out who your bar raiser is. It's not worth it. It's not going to give you any advantage knowing who that individual is. Okay. Do we have any new people? I'm conscious of time, and I'm going to see if I can pick some newbies. Oh. All right, Tangled 55. Oh, so you had your final loop on Friday. Another Friday. We're back to loops being popular on Fridays. You are so welcome. I'm so glad you learned from my channel. As I said, I put so much into it, and I try and make it content that's going to be useful for you. I've watched so many channels from coaches, and they say there are so many words that come out of their mouth, but somehow they manage to say so little. And I really didn't want my channel to be that. Yes, I want people to buy my product. I want to feed my children, but that's not my sole purpose. I genuinely want to help people get the jobs that they want to get, which is why I try and make my channel really specific, really useful. When you people ask me questions on these lives enough times, it goes into my channel. So it's all there for you. So I'm so pleased that you found the content useful. Why did I leave Amazon? Okay, so I get this question a lot, and it's like the elephant in the room. So I will cover this off. So, why did I leave Amazon? I loved Amazon. There is so much to learn. It's so full of such smart people. I've never worked anywhere where I have felt just on a daily basis that the people around me lifted me up and made me better. I learned so much in my time there, so much that I would never have learned anywhere else. But I got to a point in my personal life where I felt I needed a change. I needed to do something different. It also was, unfortunately, kind of the COVID time, and I lost my dad in COVID. He was one of the first people to pass away in the UK here. And for me, it was just a perfect storm of, I kind of felt it was time for something different and new. COVID came along, my children had to be homeschooled. So I decided at that point that maybe the fates were pointing me towards needing to step away from Amazon and focus on different parts of my life. I genuinely didn't know what else I was going to do. I started the Amazon interview whiz way before I even thought about leaving Amazon. I just did it because I knew that candidates who got coaching did better. I could see the cost of coaching, and I decided I would just do a whole bunch of stuff for free on YouTube. So this was not my plan, but when I had no other source of income, I came up with creating my courses so that I could find a little bit of revenue at the same time as being able to deal with my family stuff. So it was very, very personal. It had next to nothing to do with Amazon. It's just one of those storms of, am I in the right place for the right time in my career? So that answers that question. I hope that was insightful. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, sorry, I got a bit emotional there. I was thinking about my dad. All right, I got to stop doing that. Otherwise, I'll start crying. And that would be very, very embarrassing. Broadcasting to the world, tearing up. All right. Let's see what else I can find. Sorry, I lost my place a little bit there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is a good one. So I get this question quite a lot, but you're very specific about L7 here. So let me give you my thoughts on L7. Is it okay to repeat a few stories for an L7 interview? It's just impossible to come up with unique stories for each question. Okay, but I hope you're not, per my conversation earlier, and if you weren't here, please go back when I've done the chapters for this and find the piece where I talk about how best to use questions that you find online, because I really hope that you aren't trying to come up with unique examples for every question that you found on Tinternet, as my as my mum would say. Don't know why she calls it Tinternet, but she does. And there are certain business where projects are much longer to complete. All right, so good. I'm going to break this into two parts. So if you're an L7, my personal view as a bar raiser was I would not want to see too much repetition from an L7. You should have enough career history behind you with big projects to be able to give me examples for the different questions that you'll be asked. Now, that said, sometimes you do need to repeat because, yes, for every single question, something fresh and unique is really difficult. So there's a skill that you need to teach yourself about reshaping your examples for different leadership principles. I do have an example of this on my preparation masterclass, which some of you may have watched if you're an Academy member here. But effectively, it's a skill where you learn how to take the same basic structure of a story and really dive deep and lean the story heavily towards one leadership principle, and then create another version of the story where you lean it very, very heavily against another leadership principle. So really only the barest bones of the story align between those two different versions of it. And then you can repeat that bare bones story for different leadership principles, but actually when you tell the narrative, it sounds fundamentally different. Where you, for example, if it was an example that mixed dive deep and earn trust, let's say, your dive deep version spends like 80% of your time talking about your dive deep actions and makes very, very light references to the stuff that you had to do to earn trust just to move the story along. The other version of it, you spend 80% of your time talking in deep, deep detail about the earn trust behaviors that you exhibited in that story, and only 20% towards the dive deep stuff, just in order to move the story along. At an L7, I personally, and maybe other bar raisers who watch this video are going to say they have a different point of view. As an L7, I would be all right if you repeated a story once. I'd be okay if you did a second repeat. Much more than 2 repeats as an L7, I would be pretty uncomfortable that you had the consistent bar raising examples in your career history to be a bar raising candidate. The second part that you talk about is really interesting, where people have projects that last a really, really long time or have many different aspects to it. In that case, that's a good opportunity, because what you can do, and what I advocate, particularly for people who are doing like big research projects or big deployment projects, is to break the project down into phases. And then you create your examples out of the different phases. So although the overall project is the same example, it's the specific phase of the project that becomes the example. So although in theory it sounds like you're talking about the same thing, you're not, because you're talking about a very particular point in time for that project, which will have obviously very, very specific requirements as the project evolves. So that's my advice on that one. If you've got a long project that took a long time, break it down into chunks and use different examples within those chunks, being very clear that this is the high level project, but I'm going to talk to you very specifically about phase 4. By the time we're at phase 4, this was the situation. This is the task. This is the action. I'm now going to talk to you about when we were at phase 2 of this project. We were much higher up the pipeline. And at this point, the situation was only blah, 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 blah. This was my task. This was my action. That's my result. That's a good way of getting multiple examples out of a single overall story. I hope that helped. Research people tend to have to do that quite a lot. I don't know if you're in a research role, but research people tend to have to do that quite a lot. Okay. Let's move on then. Right, so Ramiz, do I have any recommendations for what to do on a second loop if you've been recycled? So if you've been recycled and you're moving on to a second loop, the good thing is they thought you had potential. They thought you could potentially be a bar raising candidate, but you did not have strength in the key leadership principles that they needed for that role. So my big tip is do everything you can to try and work out what the key leadership principles are in that second loop. I have a video on my YouTube channel, funnily enough, that I demonstrate how you can deconstruct a job description and work out line by line by line the words and how they connect to leadership principles. I do, I think, 3 different job descriptions on that video. So go check out that video, because if you can see in your job description which leadership principles are being mentioned more than others, then you'll be able to effectively stack rank what the really important ones are for them and what maybe the less important ones are and what ones don't seem to appear at all. But I feel the key for you will be is they clearly think you have potential. You need to nail the leadership principles that really matter for that role. I do provide a service where I can do that for you. If you are interested in that, you can check on the details on any of my videos. There's a link to buy me a coffee, and you can go and sign up to that service on my buy me a coffee page. But go check out that video first. It might be enough to give you the direction that you need to do it yourself. Okay, moving on. What else do we have? Oh, okay, we've only got 1 minute left. All right, we are out of time. Right, so I said I would give you all an awesome freebie, and I promise you this is an awesome freebie. So I'm gonna share with you this. Right, so AmazonInterviewWizAcademy.com. Yes, I got the right direction. I never get the direction right. I'm a dyslexic and things going backwards. Okay, check out AmazonInterviewWizAcademy.com. There you will find my Customer Obsession Leadership Principle Masterclass completely free. You will find in that masterclass the 4 facets of customer obsession that exist. You will find out what the interviewer is looking for in your customer obsession examples. And you will get to watch a mock interview of me interviewing me on a customer obsession question to help you understand how you can land that data, those behaviors in an interview situation. Now, as I said, customer obsession has four facets. All of the questions that you're potentially going to be asked in an Amazon interview will line up to one or the other of those facets if you are asked a customer obsession one. I give customer obsession because obviously I want you to buy my products and think they're fantastic, but obviously many of you won't want to do that. So if you're going to take a freebie from me, I wanted it to be one that would be the most universally useful to everybody. And I absolutely bet my children's lives, if you made it all the way through to loop, you will be asked customer obsession. I can guarantee, because of Amazon's focus on customer obsession, everyone will get a customer obsession question. So that's why I give that one away for free. I promise you, I will not chase you with follow-up email marketing. I'm a marketer, but I don't do that. I want my product to stand on its own 2 feet. So please go get it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's useful for you. Just check that website out. And don't forget, if you want to check out the questions, bearing in mind that you shouldn't prepare examples for every single question, you can just take the Academy off that and go to amazoninterviewwiz.com and check out my interview guide there for how to deal with Amazon interview questions specifically. Okay, so we are done for time now. Please, if you have not yet liked the video before you sign off, or if you are someone who's on playback, please, please, please like the video. I would be super grateful. And the better I do in the algorithm, the more people will keep coming to my lives. And the more people that keep coming to my lives, the more lives I will have. So that can only be a good thing for you. So please stay safe out there. The world is still crazy. Nuts things going on out there in the world. So please take care of yourselves and your families. And I hope to see you again on Wednesday. If not, I'm back same time on Monday. Stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.